Today's episode of Variant is brought to you by lynda.com.
Today on Variant, I give you all the history of Supergirl. Welcome to Variant, where we love comics more than I wish I had the original theatrical poster for Batman Mask of the Phantasm. I'm your host, Arris. Since CBS's Supergirl series premiered last week, of course I had to give you guys a History of Supergirl episode. I would have normally done this episode last week, but we were still in Villains Month, so I delayed it 1 week. But in any case, let's learn about Superman's blonde-haired, blue-eyed cousin. Supergirl was created by writer Otto Binder and designed by artist Al Plastino. She was introduced in 1959 in Action Comics issue 252. Since then, a number of different characters have assumed the Supergirl mantle over the decades, with the most popular and enduring version of the character being Kara Zor-El. And of course, as most of us know, she is Superman's cousin, who shares his powers and vulnerability to kryptonite. She would go on to star in many of her own comic book series and eventually even be killed off in the 1985 limited series Crisis on Infinite Earths. DC Comics subsequently rebooted the continuity of the DC comic universe, re-establishing Superman's character as the sole survivor of Krypton's destruction. Following the conclusion of Crisis on Infinite Earths, several different characters have assumed the role of Supergirl, including Matrix, Lynda Danvers, and Zor-El. And since I just mentioned the other girls who have been Supergirl over the years, I'm going to give you a brief rundown of each of them before I talk about Kara. You have the second Supergirl, Matrix. The Matrix's first appearance was in Superman issue 21, and was a protoplasmic life form from a pocket universe. Matrix was able to shapeshift, turn invisible, and use telepathy and telekinesis. She was created by a heroic version of Lex Luthor from a different universe. She was meant to be a savior. She came to this universe and took on the role of Supergirl. She joined the Teen Titans, went into space, and fought against Brainiac, among other great adventures. Later, she gave her life to save Lynda Danvers, and the two became one, which leads us to the third Supergirl, Lynda Danvers. Lynda Danvers eventually merged with Matrix and eventually became the new Supergirl. It was only a severe personal tragedy that forced her to quit. And for those of you wondering when she made her first debut, it was in Supergirl 1 in 1996. Then you have Zor-El, who's a human/Kryptonian hybrid created by Brainiac. Then of course you also have Power Girl, who I didn't mention earlier, but she's the Earth 2 version of Supergirl. She is more mature and experienced than her Earth 0 counterpart, and the best friend of Batman's Earth 2 daughter, Huntress. But I'll save talking about her more in detail when I eventually give her own History of episode. Now that I've run down several of the main girls who have been Supergirl over the years, it's time to talk about the first and most loved Supergirl, Kara Zor-El, who of course is the Supergirl on the new CBS series and the Supergirl in the DC animated universe, and the list goes on. Kara Zor-El first appeared in Action Comics issue 252 in 1959, as I said earlier. And her original 1959 origin is as follows, which I'm going to summarize very briefly. When Krypton blew up, the city where she lived broke away cleanly from the planet. Her and a number of other Kryptonians had survived. The ground was transformed into kryptonite, however, which they had to cover with lead to protect themselves. Years later, a meteor shower caused the shielding that protected her planet to fail. Long story short, her parents looked for a planet to send her where she would be safe. They found Earth, where Superman lived, and sent her there. Once she arrived on Earth, she learned that Superman was her cousin, at which point Superman vowed to protect her. Now, like I said, that's her original origin, but like all comic book origins, they're tweaked and sometimes changed over the years to keep the characters fresh and updated. And the New 52 would do just that for good old Kara, giving us a new spin to her origin, which goes as follows. On Krypton in Argos City, as the planet was in its last dying days, Kara's father Zor-El had taken his brother Jor-El's research to heart. He believed, where the Science Council did not, that the planet was dying. Kara's trials were coming up, where she would take part in ceremonies and tests that would usher her into full adulthood in the eyes of Kryptonian society. Zor-El planned to save all of Argos City with devices disguised as power generators that he had convinced the Science Council to place around the city. But he was not willing to risk his daughter in the plan because he wasn't sure it would succeed. That's love, kids. That's love. That being the case, he constructed a pod similar to the one his brother had theorized. He then brought Kara to his lab in Argo City under the pretext of giving her a present in honor of her upcoming trials. He showed her the pod, and inside was the Kryptonian ceremonial battle armor that she would have received upon completion of her trials. She tried it on, but when she did, she fell unconscious because Zor-El had rigged the suit to put her to sleep. And for all of you wondering how Supergirl got her costume, that's how she got her costume. In the New 52 at least. Barely hanging on to consciousness, she begged her father not to do what he was doing. Zor-El explained why he was doing it, but then her mother, Alora, arrived and fought her husband in an attempt to rescue Kara from his plans. Alora won, but was too late to stop the launch. Kara was sent off to Earth's solar system, where she would orbit Earth's sun for years in stasis, until her pod would finally leave orbit and take her to Earth. Kara arrived on Earth in Russia and emerged into the frozen tundra. Within minutes, she was confronted by a squad of Russian-speaking soldiers in high-tech battle armor. Naturally, Kara did not understand their language, language in the slightest. She didn't understand what was happening and assumed she was having a dream. When their calls for her surrender got no response, they attempted to restrain her forcefully. And that's when the sunrise happened and Kara discovered that she had heat vision in this quote-unquote dream she was having. A battle ensued, which she was winning, but then her cousin Kal-El, aka Superman, showed up. And that, my friends, is the gist of Supergirl's origin in the New 52. We see throughout the series that Supergirl is basically just trying to find her place in the world and the universe. She even becomes a Red Lantern at one point, which is freaking awesome. They need to make an action figure of Red Lantern and Supergirl, because I'd buy that. I'd buy that all day long, DC. Now that you know a little bit more about Supergirl's history and origin, let's talk about her powers. She basically has all the powers of Superman, like flight, super hearing, healing, heat vision, invulnerability, super breath, super strength, super intellect, x-ray vision, and super speed. Basically, Kara is incredibly OP, but her powers don't end there. In the New 52, she can do what's dubbed the solar bomb or solar flare, which is basically just like Superman's new solar flare power. It works by releasing the solar energy within her like a bomb, an attack which has proved so powerful it even hurt Wonder Woman. She could use the same ability to a lesser extent in order to raise her body temperature to incredible levels to turn herself into a living torch. But now that brings me to reading recommendations, because I'm sure by now some of you want to know some good Supergirl stories. You have Supergirl The Silver Age Volume 1, Supergirl Last Daughter of Krypton, Supergirl Red Daughter of Krypton, Supergirl by Peter David and Gary Frank, Crisis on Infinite Earths, and Superman Batman Supergirl. Lynda.com is an online learning company with more than 77,000 video tutorials that teach software, creative, and business skills. Memberships start at $25 per month and provides an unlimited 24/7 access to top quality video courses taught by expert instructors with real-world experience. Learn anytime, anywhere, and at your own pace, from bite-sized tutorials to comprehensive courses in web design, programming design, photography, business, audio and video, 3D, and animation. And you can learn on the go with their optimized mobile site or free iPhone and iPad app for members. Try Lynda.com for free for 7 days by visiting lynda.com/variants and get some knowledge into your brain. First up for Wednesday, November 4th, we have Detective Comics issue 46. For the first time since taking on the mantle of Batman, Jim Gordon has left Gotham City. But he's not alone, he's been recruited by the Justice League. Now we have Batman and Robin Eternal issue 5, Grayson vs. Red Robin. Grayson digs deeper into Red Robin's true origins. Here we have Deadpool issue 1, the Merc with the Mouth has an all-new #1 title. What else do I need to say? And finally we have Miss Marvel issue 1, the internationally beloved butt-kicking, smack-talking hero makes her triumphant return. And that, my comic-loving friends, brings today's episode of Variant to a close. But remember, you can always like our Variant Facebook page to keep up with the show and all things comic related. You can also follow Variant on Twitter at Variant Comics or me on Twitter at Arris_Quinones. And if you like what you see, be sure to subscribe to our channel. But I'll see you guys next week when I talk about all things comics.
Okay, ready?
Hold on.
Ow, man. Just scratched myself. Arris? We're rolling. Arris? I don't mean to interrupt, but we're rolling.
Boom. Email sent.